A prisoner found dead inside of HMP FRANKLAND, but not any ordinary prisoner, an absolute despicable bacon. A bacon who was regarded as one of the worst of the worst. All bacons are bad, but this bacon was, as I'll refer to him as, an absolute horror. Now, I spoke about this one previously when I spoke about 5 deaths, 5 bacons who died in December, in a matter of 4 weeks, I believe it was, 2 to 4 weeks. And we did have a round of applause when one of them, who was one of the worst, was actually found dead inside of his cell on Christmas Day. Now, there's more reports coming out on each individual case because there is now obviously coroner's reports. I did say in the video that I'd done that I did believe it was probably down to Spizzle, because with there being so many deaths in such a short time inside of the same prison, probably on the same wing, I thought, yes, there must have been a dodgy batch of Spizzle. But I do think there has been a bit of a cover-up. So this absolute bacon, Arthur Warwick, who was found dead on Christmas Day, when we all did have a round of applause, when we did say Santa done his dues and delivered the best present on that day, which was death. So it says a bacon who was handed a life sentence for raping children was found dead in his Durham jail cell on Christmas Day. Arthur Warwick from Penrith was given a life sentence in 2016 after being found guilty of 29 bacon offences against 4 little ones. Now, if you are new to the channel, I am using these terms and I am saying little ones as well, because if I say the other terms, the real terms, which you should have the freedom of speech to say on here, but unfortunately you cannot. So bacon is a predator. A bacon bonce rhymes with nonce. We all know what a nonce is. I'm sure sometimes when you say the word nonce it doesn't pop up, but you've got to be careful. So I am referring to them in the prison slang term as bacon. They included 5 child rapes and a series of assaults. He told one of the little ones he would stop provided the little one found another boy to take his place. How absolutely horrid. That young boy having to endure that absolute fucking wronging. I will show you a picture of his face. I'll unplug that so I can show you. Look at that. That absolute horrid, vile creature said to that little one that he would stop provided he found someone to take his place. What a fucking good job he is no longer here. Warwick was arrested when he travelled to Whitehaven, believing he was due to meet a 13-year-old he had befriended online, but the contact was luckily an undercover police officer. At his home, 20 images of that category, which I'm not going to go into, the more serious category as well of that type of thing. You know what I'm trying to get at, but again, I've got to be careful the way I word it, unfortunately, because these videos do flag up. Sorry, I've got a bit of a watery eye still. At his home, 20 of those were found that were of the worst of the worst. An inquest into his death was opened at Crook Coroner's Court and heard he died from heart disease at Frankland Prison in Durham. Coroner's Officer Jacqueline Open told the hearing, "I understand the circumstances to be that Mr. Warwick, giving him an appropriate name there, obviously they've got it because they're professionals, but in my terms, Bacon Warwick, was found deceased in his cell. A post-mortem examination at Newcastle's RVI mortuary gave a provisional cause of death as heart disease. The hearing was then adjourned until June the 2nd because it says provisional cause of death. Obviously they're looking into it further. Speaking at the time Warwick was sentenced, Detective Chief Inspector David Pattinson highlighted the bravery of his victims. He said without their help and trust in the police, Warwick would be free to continue with his despicable lifestyle. Young or little ones. I hope the sentencing can bring them some form of closure and they can have some satisfaction knowing they have helped bring him to justice and that Cumbria is a safer place with such a monster behind bars. Well, now all those youngsters can sleep tightly at night, even though they will still be traumatized for the rest of their lives. Hopefully they can put it behind them, which I doubt they will because of what that monster done to them. But they will take some satisfaction away knowing he is no longer here, that he will no longer be released and may come after them, because that's exactly what victims of such crimes think. They think, what happens when he gets out? Will he come after us? I've stood up in court, I've given evidence. No longer going to have to feel like that, luckily. Round of applause. I also hope that this encourages anyone who has been a victim of a S offence to come forward and report it to police. A victim can be reassured that their case will be investigated professionally and sensitively. Now, I know a lot of people say a lot of things about the coppers, grief them, call them whatever, and say they've all got the different terms and say that they shouldn't be there, they're absolute whatever. But when it comes to cases like this, the police are absolutely needed. So as much as people grief them, I want to commend them on cases like this, because without the coppers, without these specialist police that investigate these cases and do it in a sensitive manner and help these young ones, these type of monsters would be still out on the streets. Because although yes, there might be vigilantes in the place to take their place, which would be good, so that they never get to court, they never get to prison, the vigilantes take care of them properly. But these kids probably won't know or reassure or have that reassurance in vigilantes, because they are other violent men. So obviously these sensitive specialist police that have come along and took on these cases and took the trust of these little ones to put these monsters behind bars, like I've just said, they are very much needed. But that monster will never be walking the streets again. But like I've said, I do believe there is some sort of cover-up, because another predator who raped and murdered a girl died in the same prison days before that beast. So a man who raped and murdered a 17-year-old as she walked home from school died days before Christmas, just like that other beast, Arthur Warwick. So Victor Dembowski's died on the December the 20th while serving 3 life sentences for the rape and murder of 17-year-old Jeshma Rathata in Greenford, West London in 2005. Dembowski's waited in a den along a footpath and attacked Jeshma as she walked home from school days before her 18th birthday. Her body was discovered 8 days later. An inquest into his death was opened at Crewe Coroner's Court and heard Dembowski was refusing cancer treatment. Coroner's Officer Dawn Carter told the hearing, "I understand the circumstances to be that Mr. Dembowski was suffering from cancer." Hopefully it was a painful one for him. A post-mortem examination at Newcastle RVI mortuary gave the cause of death as unknowing, pending histology and toxicology. She added he was refusing treatment for cancer but was accepting pain relief. As reported, 5 inmates at Frankland Prison died in just 8 days last month, including one on Christmas Day, like I've just mentioned. Investigations into each of their deaths are underway, with Prisons and Probation Ombudsman Adrian Usher saying he will look at any themes or any correlation among the deaths. I covered this when it happened. I spoke about each individual case, all 5 cases, but I'm talking about these ones because these ones are in the headlines, not on the mainstream media because they don't get put on there, but they're in the headlines when you search online, different news articles, only if you're looking for it though. So the deaths occurred between the 17th of December and the 25th, and it is understood they are not directly linked. Well, I did say I believe that they were linked. It was probably a dodgy batch, but again, there's an inquest and there was that provisional. They would have just said straight away, but I will keep you updated, but we do not care how they died. All we care about is that they are no longer here to do any more despicable deeds to little ones. But as usual on Behind Bars TV, I will bring you the best of best news about the bacon bashes. And these bacons, doesn't seem like they were bashed physically, but they have been bashed and they are no longer here. That is all that counts. And that Arthur Warwick, and again this one here, Dembowski's, are 2 absolute horrid, despicable, rotten wrong'uns that are no longer with us. So, like I've said, those, obviously the victim of Dembowski is no longer here, bless her soul. 17-year-old schoolgirl murdered by that rotten piece of whatever. I can't say truly what I think. But that poor girl is no longer here. Those are the surviving victims of Arthur Warwick. Like I've just said, I will say on the last part and piece of this video, I hope they do take solace and to take some pride and glee that he is no longer here. They can sleep at night knowing he will not come after them when he is released. Even though he was older and he got a life sentence, he could have still got out one day. They would have still had nightmares about him. They could have had nightmares thinking, will he escape prison? Will he get out? Will he come after us? They will no longer have to feel like that. So that rotten egg, apple, whatever, so and so, is no longer here. Hopefully, people, there will be a lot more of these coming in 2026. And I will be bringing you the updates here on Behind Bars TV, because there is no other prison channel like this that gives you the updates on these type of prisoners. So I'm going to leave that one there for now, people. Hopefully you are still enjoying the content. And if you are, remember to comment, like and subscribe. And as usual, enjoy the rest of your day. But most importantly, people, stay safe.